Hello, welcome to the Record Celtic podcast. My name is Daniel Caw. I'm delighted to be joined by Record Sports' Ryan McDonald and Michael Gannon. Guys, how is it going?
I don't know about you, Mick, but I'm absolutely delighted. The transfer window slams shut. It never just closes, does it? Slams shut.
Oh, I'm absolutely thrilled to bits. I'm a bit very much weary after a month of mayhem. I'm quite glad that it's finally over.
It did feel like it was never ending.
Well, it's still not ended because Celtic are still trying to sign players after it's shut yet again. So the transfer window is still jammed slightly ajar for Celtic. Given this season, none of it's been straightforward. It's not going to be straightforward again, it looks like. So there's still business that might be done, which I'm sure we'll get to at some point in the podcast.
I was going to say we will get to that, but one man who will be absolutely delighted the window's shut as well, or ajar, is Martin O'Neill probably. Finished his signing with 5 players in January. You can see them on your screen now if you're watching. I guess basically my question is just, how would you rate Celtic's window?
Well, for me, just how we joke to break us into the podcast. Fair play to the Celtic board, because it seems as if they've really bought into the not another penny campaign.
Spent more appealing Austin Trusty's red card.
I joke as well. Now, look, in a serious note, I've been on this podcast and Hotline Live, and I've been, I think, severely critical of the board this season. I believe there needs to be a total restructuring from top to bottom, and I think that's clear. What I would say is, I don't think the January business has eased any tension between the board and the fans, right? But I am pretty much against the grain from what I've heard and what I've read on Twitter and podcasts, etc. I actually think it's smart business what they've done in this January transfer window, and I'll tell you why. Had Celtic splashed out millions of pounds, right, on Adamu, Mvuka and what's the other boy's name? Sorry, Adamu. Sorry. Yeah, I think fans would be pretty content if they splashed out £10 million combined, for example. I think the fans would have been pretty content. But they've got them on loan and they've got an option to buy, right? So these two guys have struggled. There's no doubt about it. They're needing to relaunch their career. They need somebody to kickstart their career, and Celtic are giving them that platform. But there's absolutely no guarantees that they're going to be a success. You know, there's no guarantees that they're going to fit into Martin O'Neill's system, and there's no guarantees they're going to fit into the next manager's system. So I think Celtic have made a lot of mistakes over the years in the transfer market. They've invested in club signings, and look what's happened with them. Junior Adamu and Hayato Namura have been farmed out after less than 6 months at the club. And I'm actually a fan of if you're going to spend big, the try before you buy strategy. I think it's worked well for Jota, Vickers, even Adam Eder to extent. If Celtic are going to spend big, I think it's a wise strategy. I think the biggest gripe is the fact that they've left it again until the dying hours to fill key positions. I think that's what will annoy Celtic fans probably the most. Is they never seem to learn from this. It's always the final hours. It's always a bit of a circus in deadline day. And even though the transfer window is jarred shut, as Mick correctly says, they're still in the market for signings, albeit the free agent market. So the business hasn't completely been conducted. But for me, I think I don't have too many complaints with Celtic loaning the 5 players in. As I say, I think it does make sense to an extent. But my biggest criticism of this window is that the signings weren't brought in earlier. And I think everybody had circled that trip to Tynecastle. It was the game where this is an opportunity for Celtic to properly drag themselves back into the title race. And they only had a couple of signings in the door for them. And I think that was a missed opportunity for them. So overall, I think it was a decent January transfer window. You look at it, Arojo is definitely an upgrade on Anthony Ralston. Chavinkara is obviously an upgrade on Johnny Kenny as well. So they're the 2 early signings that have made instant impacts. and obviously we're going to find out what's going to happen with the three deadline signings as well. So I think ultimately, in my view, Celtic have come out of the window stronger than they came in, and that's always got to be the aim.
What do you think, Mick?
Yeah, I think, the question is, are Celtic stronger now than they were on January the 1st? And I think you've got to say yes. The next question is, are they strong enough? And we can't answer that yet because we don't know. So far, I think Arojo and Chanchara have looked the part, and Neil is really going to be solid additions. The three that arrived on deadline day, we just don't know. You look at their previous body of work. Both of them are the two main signings. I mean, when you Benjamin Arthur, who I think will be a kind of a backup role initially. He's not playing an awful lot of first team football, but he seems to have a decent enough reputation as a young player. A lot to chuck him into a title race. I think he maybe be backup. I think Martin O'Neill likes trusty and Scales anyway, so I don't see that getting split up anytime soon unless there's an injury or a suspension. The other two is a big question mark. Adamu, I think if Celtic signed him from Salzburg, they want to watch. The player at Salzburg who scored against Bayern Munich in Champions League, who was young and strong and looked apart, very much so. The player at Freiburg, not so much because he's not done much there. First season, all right at times. This season, not great. Mvuka, again, I've got questions. I mean, again, he did quite well at Bodo Glimt. I think he came off the bench against Celtic and those ties a couple of years ago against Hans Postecoglou's team. Hasn't really done much at Lorient. That's the one I think looks like a kind of but down the list. I mean, obviously, Celtic went for Tabi at the start of the window, medical issues, then Sunderland, that one. They went for Gedjemis in Italy. I think that was the one that Martin O'Neill really fancied and thought he was going to go over the line. Turned out the boy done a bit of a U-turn at the last minute. And then into Redzik, who I think was always destined for Salzburg. Reading between the lines, it looked like they were trying to smoke that deal out along the way. So he's not the first choice. He's down the list. He's not got form. I've got to admit, if it's a kind of sign, if he went on loan to Aberdeen or Hibs, it wouldn't have surprised me, that kind of thing. To Celtic, big responsibility, because is he going to be the one to replace Yang on the right or be his backup? If he's his backup, then that's you've got to think that's a position Celtic had to kind of tool up. And Yang's done okay. I don't think Yang's actually a natural right winger, to be honest with you. I think he's more comfortable on the left. So I think that's a question mark. Up top, I think Celtic look better equipped now, and he actually back from injury as well. So listen, you don't always get what you want in a window. That's the way it goes. And I agree with Ryan about the try before you buy thing, especially with options to buy, because I think it was straight loan deals. If you got a team, Celtic now get 6 loan players, and that's usually a concern because if things go wrong, loan players, I'm not saying across the board, but they can tend to think, well, I'm not here next year. I don't need to worry about the fallout, really. But I mean, 4 of the 6 guys have got this option to buy in the summer. It gives them a bit of an incentive to either win a deal at Celtic or put themselves in the shop window. So they've got motivation for the last part of the season for multiple reasons, whether it's at Celtic or beyond. So I don't mind that so much. I think that's a good idea. So they've got a great opportunity to go and show what they can do. I think you've seen it already with Chanchara. Looks as though he's a hungry player, wants to make an impression. So I think looks as though that's a decent move. Arojo, I think, is going to be a wee bit of a leap for Celtic to try and turn that one. He's been terrific, but I think he's on big money at Bournemouth, and he's got 3 years left in his deal. Might be a bit of a pipe dream, that one, I think, unfortunately for Celtic.
They paid a lot for him as well, Bournemouth, didn't they?
Paid a lot. He's in a long term. I mean, he signed about a 5-year deal when he signed, and he's on decent. He'll be on very decent money.
Aye.
I think that one is not. But Celtic now, listen, I think they're facing the biggest rebuild in history in the summer. That's for sure. The can has been well and truly kicked down the street for this one, and it just remains to be seen now if they're strong enough to go and kick on. They're 14 games to go in the league. They're going to have to at least not lose to Rangers and Hearts in the next 2 games against them. probably need to win them, and then win probably 10, 11 out of the next 12, the other 12 games. So they're going to have to really put the foot down and hit the ground running, these guys. It's a big ask if they can pull it off, but very much jury's still out. I mean, the window, if it goes wrong, it'll be viewed as another disastrous window on top of the summer, which was a catastrophe window, really. I think at the moment, on paper, it looks all right. It looks okay. But we'll have to wait and see.
See, just going back to the Benjamin Arthur one, guys, the centre back that come in. I don't really get it. I mean, you mentioned, Mick, he's obviously going to come in, I think, as cover, as backup. But why not just keep Stephen Welsh then? Or Simpson Pusey, who, by all accounts, is doing really well at Cologne now. He was in Bundesliga Team of the Week a couple of times last month. I mean, I just don't really get it.
I think with the Stephen Welsh one, I think Celtic have managed his situation pretty poorly, to be honest, over the last few years. You know, he's had opportunities. I think he's had interest from Serie A and Belgium as well. They obviously spent time out on loan last season. He's 25 now, Dan. So I think he's at the age now where he really needs to be playing. He was outstanding in the first half of the season on loan at Motherwell. Really became a key player for Big Jens at Fir Park. And he's, as I said, he's 25 years old, so he must be desperate for game time. And I don't think it's really fair for his development to be sitting on the bench or, do you know what, at times even in the stands at Celtic Park watching on. So I think Martin O'Neill recognised that, and he was keen to get him back out on loan. And I wouldn't be surprised if Stephen Welsh has played his last game for Celtic now. I don't think Motherwell will be able to afford his wages come the end of the season, but I can see him moving on to perhaps another European team, maybe in Belgium or somewhere in that region.
It's a financial move, isn't it? Because he goes there, he's in the shop window for 6 months or 5 months. He's not going to be on the shop window for Celtic, because back in the summer, he does another good end to the season. That's a solid season at Motherwell. They might get £1 million from him. If he doesn't, if he's sitting in the stand, his value is dropping at a stone. He gets summer, he's not going to get that. Not going to get that kind of fee.
I think the Benjamin Arthur as well. It's very much like you said, Dan. It's very much like a like for like replacement with Jemai Simpson Pusey. You know, they've got similar backgrounds. I think Arthur's a England under 20 international. I think he was named Brentford's under 21s Player of the Year last season as well. He's made a handful of appearances for Brentford this season. I think he was recently signed a long-term deal. So he's obviously a player with potential and a lot of development in him. But you know, I don't think you'll probably see him much in a Celtic jersey if I'm being honest. I think that we'll find out if Dane Murray's ahead of him in the pecking order in the coming weeks. But obviously Celtic are light in that defensive department with Cameron Carter-Vickers injured as well for the remainder of the season. So yeah, I think if they were going to bring in a central defender, I must admit I wasn't surprised when the news emerged last night that it was going to be a player of kind of Benjamin Arthur's ilk, you know, a young player who will probably just be relish any kind of minutes that he gets at Celtic, and it's another it's another opportunity for him to progress his own career. I think ideally Celtic would have liked a signing like, you know, Maurice Jens. You guys will remember big Maurice Jens joining. I think it was under Ange Postecoglou in 22-23.
Good player.
I think he played all 6 Champions League group stage games and he was decent. So I think perhaps I think Celtic are going to strengthen their centre back positions at the end of the season. As Mick says, there's going to be a monumental rebuild. So I think you will get, you know, a genuine first team starter coming in at centre back. But for now, I think Benjamin Arthur kind of does the job as a stopgap signing. I think domestically, Liam Scales gets a lot of criticism, but you know, I watch him week in and week out. I think aside from that blip where he was played out of position under Wilfred Nancy, I think Liam Scales has been arguably Celtic's best player this season. And I think Austin Trussdale, certainly in Europe, Austin Truss has been imperious at times, I think, in that Bologna game. But Austin Truss and him seem to have a decent partnership at the back, so I don't think there's too much to worry about there. So I think, in all honesty, my view is the Benjamin Arthur signing it just makes sense.